السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأنكحوا الأيام منكم والصالحين من عبادكم وإمائكم إن يكونوا فقراء يغنهم الله من فضله والله واسع عليم. وليستعفف الذين لا يجدون نكاحا حتى يغنيهم الله من فضله والذين يبتغون الكتاب مما ملكت أيمانكم فكاتبوهم إن علمتم فيهم خيرا وآتوهم من مال الله الذي آتاكم ولا تكرهوا فتياتكم على البغاء إن أردنا تحصنا لتبتغوا عرض الحياة الدنيا ومن يكرههن فإن الله من بعد إكراههن غفور رحيم. ولقد أنزلنا إليكم آيات مبينات ومثلا من الذين خلوا من قبلكم وموعظة للمتقين. صدق الله العظيم. Last Jummah we talked about this first ayah that I have just recited of Surah An-Nur, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ. Arrange the marriage of the spouseless amongst you. وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ. And those who are capable among your born men and born girls, slave men and women. إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. If they are poor, Allah will enrich them out of His grace. وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah is all-encompassing and all-knowing. We talked in detail about the hukum of this ayah, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ. That those who are not married and we are in charge of them, we should marry those people. Wallahu a'lam, how many of us in this gathering are in charge of those who are supposed to be getting married now, and they are at that situation where they need to get married? If we are, then the question would be, what did we do to fulfill the order of the ayah? Because of course, the purpose of the ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the ahkam of Quran al-Kareem is not just knowledge, it's practice. So this portion of the ayah, or this ayah, is reminding us of our responsibility to make sure that we marry those people that need to get married. They are at the age of getting married. We marry them and fulfill our responsibility towards them. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in the hadith, إِذَا خَطَبَ إِلَيْكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If a person with deen and good akhlaq proposes to marry someone that you are in charge of, don't refuse that person. فَزَوِّجُوهُ. Marry that person and don't refuse him. إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ. If you won't do this, there will be a lot of fitna and a lot of fasad. And as I mentioned at that time, and I really need to remind, because sometimes traditions are very strong and they don't allow anything to get into the heart. You will see a very strong barrier in front of our heart, just like ice built on top of it. And I hope it's only ice, is not a metal sheet. Really, this is what traditions are. That these traditions are extremely difficult for people to break. And after hearing all the ayahs, ahadith, clear ahkam, at the end the person says, yes, but you know what? This is not that even, she has to finish her education. He has to do this. This but comes at the end and it ruins everything. And it comes only because of traditions. But she is 40 years old and he is only 20 years old. This is also part of tradition. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam set that example for us too. And all of these type of questions, or he is this old and she is very young. Of course, I don't mean that we should not look at these things at all, but we should not use these as an excuse for just delaying the marriage. And what is happening is, because of this, we can go out and look what is the situation of the ummah and what is happening in our families. You will see girls, they are in their 30s, they are in their 40s, they are not married, and now it's even difficult. And I guarantee you this, most of them, I can't say 100%, but at least 90 or 95% of those are the ones that someone proposed to marry them at the right age, and the parents' response was, she is too young. Go out, talk to the parents, and you will find out. We don't want to repeat the same mistake. And again, I know at this time we may think, yeah, this is correct. But as soon as we walk out of the door of the masjid, and that tradition, that barrier comes, but how about her education? How about he himself? He is not working right now. He is dependent on his parents. But the parents are saying they're going to support him. We keep on looking at all of these restrictions and these details and everything, and then we want to find out every detail about what is in this person's mind. Really. Before marriage, now marriage became so difficult, subhanAllah, I feel sorry for the young people. They almost want to scan this person's brain and to see whatever is in it. What type of food you like to eat? How many times a day you would want to eat? How about if she won't prepare a meal for you? What you would do? What if she doesn't want the children? What is your reaction? SubhanAllah, let them decide this later on. You're going to get into all of these things at this time, and the person will never find a person that is 100% matching his mind and his way of life. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is telling us two criteria, deen and khuluq. And believe me, if these two things are there, you don't have to worry about anything else. If deen is there, his deen will prevent him from doing injustice. He will not do zulm, because he has iman. And he has akhlaq, khuluq. He has the right akhlaq, right manners. And because of his akhlaq, he is not going to misbehave. Regardless of what happens, but he will not misbehave because he has akhlaq. He is well behaved. So, but the things that normally we look at, really, the things that we normally look at, education and money. These things never prevent the person from doing zulm. It is a fact. That this will never prevent the person from doing zulm and will never teach him to do what's right. He doesn't want to come home until 1 o'clock in the morning. And she tells him, I can't do it. I can't stay like this. He says, okay, go home. But if there is deen, there is iman, the person fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will know that this is her right. I can't be doing this zulm on her. So, deenahu wa khuluqa. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنْكِحُ الْأَيَامَ. Marry those that are unmarried. Then the second ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ نِكَاحًا حَتَّى يُغْنِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ. And those who cannot afford to get married. This is now for those people. So it's not only that everyone has to get married. There is other part also to it. وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ نِكَاحًا. Those who cannot afford to get married, then they should protect themselves and they should always refrain from all kind of haram. وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفِ الَّذِينَ لَا يَجِدُونَ نِكَاحًا. Those who cannot afford to marry should keep chaste until Allah enriches them out of His grace. Now, if a person is not in a situation where he can really take care of himself and his family at all, whatever the reason may be, but this person does not even have a house. And parents have said that we will not keep her in our home. Find your own house. So, these type of situations, and there could be a lot of similar situations. So, in this situation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us that وَلْيَسْتَعْفِفْ. Now we should always try to remain from sin. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in a hadith have told us what is the way of those who are not able to get married, what is the way for them to protect themselves against sins. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a hadith which is in Bukhari and Muslim, Ya ma'ashar al-shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'ata falyatazawwaj. O young people, whoever can get married should marry as soon as possible. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ وَأَحْصَنُ لِلْفَرَجِ. Because this will protect your eyes and protect your private parts. وَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. And a person who cannot get married then should fast. فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. That person should fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاء. Fast will be a shield that will protect him from falling into sins. As we know, the effect of the fast is لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, have the taqwa of Allah. In simple words, taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is needed so that a person would protect him and herself from falling into sins. Fasting, when a person would start fasting, initially, as the person would start fasting, will feel that these type of thoughts are increasing in his mind. And the desire is increasing. This is the general effect of it. But gradually, then when a person would continuously fast, then he will see the right effect of it, and then these desires will start going away. This is why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used the word فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. See, the word for you should fast sometime will be فَلْيَصُمْ, should fast. But عَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, ala means you make it compulsory on you that you keep on fasting. And this is the wording that is used, that you keep on fasting. It's not that you fast 2 days and then you stop for 1 week and then you fast 2 days and say, I don't see this fast stopping me from it. If really a person is afraid of falling into sin, then فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, then he should continuously fast. This continuous fasting then will prevent this person from falling into these type of lusts and desires and committing sins because of them. But of course, this will be just a way of protecting oneself. The main thing is to use the right solution, the natural solution, and that is what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned in the first portion of the hadith, مَنْ اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمُ الْبَاءَةَ فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ. Whoever can afford to get married, then should marry. When a person tries to get married, of course, we know that a lot of difficulties would come on our way. Because it's a responsibility. And gradually the responsibilities will increase also. As the family will increase, the responsibilities will increase. For sure it is a responsibility if at the time of marriage the intention was to protect oneself from sinning and to fulfill the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says in a hadith which is in Sunan al-Tirmidhi, ثَلَاثَةٌ حَقٌّ عَلَى اللَّهِ عَوْنُهُمْ. There are three types of people Allah will surely help them. Three types of people. Allah guarantees, حَقٌّ عَلى اللَّهِ. Allah guarantees that He will help them. Number one, al-mujahidu fi sabilillah. Number two, al-mukatab alladhi yuridu al-ada. Mukatab is a special category of slaves, inshallah. There is a special order coming about mukatab in the next portion of the ayah, so I'll explain it there. And the third person is al-nakih alladhi yuridu al-afaf. Person who gets married with the intention of protecting himself from sinning. If the person is getting married because of this, with this intention of protecting himself from disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from falling into sin, to protect his eyes and to protect himself, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help this person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those who are not able to marry, then they should protect themselves, حَتَّى يُغْنِيَهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ, until Allah will enrich them out of His grace. وَالَّذِينَ يَبْتَغُونَ الْكِتَابَ مِمَّا مَلَكَتْ أَيْمَانُكُمْ فَكَاتِبُوهُمْ إِنْ عَلِمْتُمْ فِيهِمْ خَيْرًا. And those of your slaves who seek the contract of kitaba, contract kitaba with them if you know some good in them. What is kitaba? Mukatab. Mukatab is a slave who makes a contract with his master of paying certain amount of money and getting free. So either he requested his master that I will pay you $10,000 and you let me go, or maybe the master initiated it and he said, if you give me $10,000, I will let you go. The rule of the Sharia is, when a contract is made between this person and his slave, now this person, the slave, is called mukatab. And mukatab, you can say he's almost free now, in a sense that he does not have to work for his master anymore. His master, he does not have the responsibility towards his master of serving him doing any of his work. Now he's free to go out and do whatever type of work he can do so that he can earn the money and get himself free. Let me change the terminology to make this hukum easier for us to understand. Captives of war. A person was captured in the battlefield and he was brought to the country. Sharia says don't put him in the prison because this person will be in prison forever, no one would care of him, and he will be just waiting for his death. So hand him over to some Muslim family in the country that will be in charge of this person. This person will live out in the society. He will live a free life, not behind bars. He will be dressing normal. He will eat just whatever a normal person would eat, whatever that family eats in their home. Their responsibility is to provide him with all of his needs, and they will be in charge of him to make sure he does not create any fitna for people out there. He does not do anything wrong because captive of war. He was in the battlefield. He was captured. Just imagine how careful we have to be of those people. And really, when you see how much people are protective and how people would deal with captives of war nowadays, that if they have any of those, I'm sure that person will be surrounded with armed forces, that even if he wants to scratch, he will need a permission to do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, don't do this with them. Don't deal with them in this way. When this person would be walking out on the street, by his dress, by his way of clothing, no one would know that he was a captive of war. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said in a hadith, "Albisuhum mimma talbasun." Give them the same dress that you wear. وَأَطْعِمُوهُمْ مِمَّا تَأْكُلُونَ, and feed them the same food that you eat. So they will be living out in the society. But of course, we have to make sure if there are 1,000, 2,000 people of those, and you bring them back into the society, there could be a lot of fitna. They could cause a lot of problems. For that reason, Sharia solves that problem also, that the way of dealing with that is that make sure that these people are handed over to some others that will be in charge of them. So someone will be in charge of this person. And the person who's in charge of him will take care of his expenses, and at the same time he will be watching over him. Since he's watching over him, this is why the term slave is being used. A lot of time people will have objection that how come slavery is allowed in Islam. The reason they have that objection is because the type of slavery they have seen, the type of slavery they have seen in their cultures, or they have read in the history. So now when they read the word slave, they apply all of those cultural things that they have seen, or all of the things they have read in the history, they would apply to this word, and now they will object about Islam. How come Islam is allowing all of these things? This is just like, in some culture, people don't like to get married. Because the way wives are treated after marriage, when people think of how wives are treated after marriage, they don't even want to hear the name marriage. In fact, in this society, most of the people, they don't want to get married. They want a partner in a life, but they don't want to get married. And that is because they feel that marriage is not a blessing, it becomes a problem. Now you are stuck, and you are committed. And then, if you want to divorce, you have to go through all of the problems. And main problem is, she will take half of your wealth away. That's the main thing that people think about. Money. That she will take my money. So, when people have seen those kind of things attached to marriage and rights of women, then they will of course have objection about marriage. But when you look at the marriage from the Sharia point of view, a person would say there is nothing better than this for a woman. And this is the greatest blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for him and her. So, the point is that the word slave, when it's used, and people apply all of the other things to it, and they object to Sharia, then why Sharia is allowing it? Sharia is not allowing those things that he has in his mind. This is why sometimes when people are asking that question, you need to ask them, can you spell it out that, okay, why slavery is bad? And then you will see how this person will start drawing the picture of a slave. That a person who will be kept in a small box, and you will beat him up whenever he does something wrong, and you will just throw a piece of bread to him like you would feed a dog. In fact, dogs are treated much better. I should use some other example in this part of the world. And so, all of these things, and then you go to some of the museums, and you see that how they have set the things like when those museums are representing of what used to happen to the slaves, how they used to be chained, and they were tortured, and what kind of dress they were given, and they were put in the field, that go ahead and do work, and they will be working day and night and have no rights. Of course, when you look at that, and you look at the ayahs of the Quran, and you look at the order of the Sharia about slaves, it's totally two different things. These are totally two different things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that when you have slaves and you have those people who were captured in the battlefield, and now we put them back into the society, and we made some people in charge of them. These people started behaving now, and the person in charge feels that, mashallah, this person, he's good. He's not going to, if we leave him out in the society without anyone being in charge of him, still he's not going to cause any harm to the society. So, Sharia encourages this person, set him free. But he feels that I really spent a lot of money on him. Last 10 years, I spent money on his education, on all of his needs and everything. So, it's only fair for me that I get paid back for whatever I spent, $10,000, $15,000. So he says to this person, okay, I feel that it's safe for you now to be out in the society without anyone being in charge of you. In fact, in simple words, you can say, now he is in a position where if we have more captives of war, he could be in charge of them. Because he will become a normal person in the society. So he says, he makes a contract with his slave, with that person, with that captive of war, and he says to him that, okay, if you go out in the field and earn. And whenever you have $15,000, hand me the $15,000 and you are free. So now he goes out and he works. Of course, one source of his income would be that he would find a job and he will work. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَآتُوهُمْ مِنْ مَالِ اللَّهِ الَّذِي آتَاكُمْ, and give them from the wealth of Allah that He has given you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering the master that as you making work for your $15,000, give him some money yourself also. Subhanallah. He is going to charge him $15,000, out of that he's giving him a couple of $1,000. Not only this, then this order goes to the public. This order goes to the Muslim Ummah that everyone in the community should try to help this person. How people are going to help? Through donations, and in addition to donations. Now, when you read the ayah of zakat, you would see one of the categories of zakat is وَفِي الرِّقَابِ, freeing the slave. This does not refer to giving a slave money or paying the master to free a slave, which means if there is no contract of mukataba between the master and slave, then that type of person cannot use the zakah. But when there is kitaba, when this type of contract is there, now you can give the slave the money of your zakah. So now people are giving him from their zakat money. Subhanallah, look at the beauty of the Sharia, that our zakah is being used to set free that captive of war. And the order is also given to the government when there is a